I'd like to welcome everyone today. I'm President Garcia Morales, and I call this regular board meeting. I call this regular board meeting of June 13th to order. The time is 5:02 p.m. Thank you. I'd like to remind everybody to please silence your electronic devices. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the territorial homelands of the Nuwu, the Moapa Band of Paiutes, and the Las Vegas Band of Paiutes. Trustee Brooks will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. Trustee Bustamante Adams, are you ready to make the motion?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda with the following change. Delete item 3.02, Notice of Intent, Clark County School District Regulation 4291.
Thank you. I'll entertain a second. Trustee Brooks?
Thank you, Madam President. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Bustamante Adams, a second by Trustee Brooks. Please cast your vote. Okay. Thank you, colleagues. That motion, oh, give me 1 second. I want to confirm, is there anyone on the line? Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you, colleagues. That motion passes 5-0. All right, colleagues, we're going to move on to consent agenda. Before I open consent agenda, is there anyone who has not had a chance to complete a public speaker card? It's a yellow card that gives you access to provide public comment. Please do so now. Otherwise, I'll look at the list of here. It doesn't look like we have anybody for consent agenda. We don't have any yellow cards at this time. So we are going to move on, colleagues. I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda. Trustee Guzman?
Thank you, President Garcia Morales. I move to accept the consent agenda.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. Trustee Bustamante Adams?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Bustamante Adams. Colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Guzman and a second by Trustee Bustamante Adams. Please cast your vote. Thank you, colleagues. That motion passes 5-0. All right, we're going to move on to the warrants. Trustee Guzman?
Thank you. The ratified warrants is listed in the bills payable transmittal and board memorandum number 19-23-24 in the total amount of $199,732,339.47.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. All right, colleagues, we're going to move on to item 3.01, public hearing on and possible approval of the new memorandum of agreement between the Clark County School District and the Police Officers Association of the Clark County School District regarding the use of personal leave by school police officers. Mr. Bushing?
Good evening, President, trustees, interim superintendent. What you have before you is item 3.01, which is a simple memorandum of agreement with the Police Officers Association of the Clark County School District to allow the police officers to use earned personal leave by December 31st, 2024, instead of June 30th, 2024. This is an exception only for 2024. The cost of this MOA is de minimis, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Luke. Colleagues, forgive me, I need to step back for a second because this is This is a action item, and so anybody who would like to provide public comment on this, please submit a yellow card if you haven't done so already. Okay. If there is no discussion, I'll entertain discussion by the board at this time. Otherwise, I need to read a statement. If there is no discussion, I'll go straight into the statement. Okay. This is the time and place to conduct a public hearing on discussion of and possible action of approval of the memorandum of agreement between the Clark County School District and the Police Officers Association of Clark County School District regarding the use of personal leave by school police officers. I don't have any public comment on this particular item, either people who signed up in advance or yellow cards. So at this time, the public hearing is now closed. Colleagues, I'll entertain a motion. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to approve agenda item 3.01. Yep, do I have to say the whole thing?
Okay. Oh, you're good. Thank you, Trustee Bustamante Adams. Trustee Guzman.
I second.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. Colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Bustamante Adams and a second by Trustee Guzman. Please cast your vote. Thank you, colleagues. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Pushing. Okay, we're going to move on to item 3.03. This is the notice of intent of the Clark County School District Regulation 1140.1. This is an action item, so anybody who has not had a chance to submit their public comment card, please do so now. Otherwise, we'll turn it to Kelly Kowalpal. Did I get that right?
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Larson Mitchell, Kelly Caldwell-Paul, Chief Strategy Officer for the record. Excuse me. Item 3.03 is a notice of intent for the adoption of a new CCSD board regulation related to parent and family engagement and school culture investigations. Nevada statutes provide an opportunity for school communities to request an investigation related to family engagement and school culture under certain circumstances. And because the statute places that responsibility on the Board of Trustees, operationalizing that process requires board approval. And therefore, approval of this regulation will provide that approval and will allow staff to carry out the board's obligations under the statute. The regulation is intentionally straightforward. After a reference to the statutory requirements, there are two main sections. Section 1, which begins on page 2 of 4 of the reference material, describes how a group of employees, parents and legal guardians, or the school organizational team can document and submit a petition or a vote to require that investigation takes place. And then Section 2, which begins on the bottom of page 2, describes the action that staff will take upon receiving that petition or vote. That process consists of 3 basic steps. The first step, which begins in Section 2A on the bottom of page 2, is how the district staff will validate the petition or vote to make sure that it meets the threshold to require an investigation. The second step, Section 2B on the bottom of page 3, and continuing on to page 4, staff will conduct the investigation by speaking with a sampling of petitioners or SOT members, by reviewing any aligned data or existing plans of operation or plans of action, and by consulting with the school supervisor. And then finally, Section 2C, beginning on page 4, staff will implement the actions and report on the results of the investigation, which will be developed in consultation with the school supervisor. Like I said, intentionally straightforward, although if there are any questions related to the recommendation, I'm happy to address them.
Thank you. Okay, colleagues, I will entertain discussion. Otherwise, we will turn it over to public comment. I don't have public comment, so at this time, I'm looking for a motion. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to approve agenda item 3.03, notice of intent for regulation 1140.1.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman.
I second.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. Colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Bustamante Adams, a second by Trustee Guzman. Please cast your vote. And we have a member on the phone, Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, colleagues, that motion passes 6-0. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item 3.04, Debt Management Commission of Southern Nevada Regional Planning Coalition Representative. Discussion and possible action to appoint a member of the board as representative to Debt Management Commission and the Southern Nevada Regional Planning Coalition, whose term will be continuous with his or her elected term in accordance to NRS 350 period 10115 and the Southern Nevada Regional Planning Coalition Act. Chapter 489 Statutes of Nevada 1999 is recommended. Okay, I'm the point of contact for that. And colleagues, per Governance Policy GP 15, which states, forgive me, before I go on to explanation, this is an item that is an action item, requires an action of the board. If there is public comment, please submit your yellow cards for this item at this time. Otherwise, I'll go into the presentation and then I'll entertain a motion. Is there public comment on this particular item? No. Okay, thank you. Colleagues, per GP 15, board affiliated committees, the Board of Trustees has several committees, NIAA being one of them, this committee, Debt Management Commission, being another, that requires the board vote a member into a board approval, unlike traditional committees where there are other committees that the board president provides appointments to members. This one requires a motion of the board. And I recognize that that this item is coming to you all here in the middle of the year, unlike and otherwise it would have happened at the beginning of the year. But given some shifts in responsibilities, members, this position has become open again, and so I'm bringing this to you before the board to appoint a member of the Board of Trustees. This is a voting position that lies at the Debt Management Commission and the Southern Nevada Regional Planning Coalition. That would be a representative of the Board of Trustees. Okay, so I will entertain any nominations of members who would like to be appointed for this committee, and I guess I'd like to be the first one to make a nomination of myself to be added to this commission as a member representing the Board of Trustees. So I guess I am technically making a motion, but I'm open to any other nominations from members who would like to serve in this committee, on this committee. Trustee Guzman?
I'd like to second your nomination to be on this committee.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. I appreciate that. Colleagues, just to be clear, we have a motion by myself to serve, to appoint me by the Board of Trustees to this Debt Management Commission and the Southern Nevada Regional Planning Coalition. So thank you, Trustee Guzman. Was that a second or a first? I technically gave you a first, so yours would be...
It could be a first. I would like to nominate you to be on this commission, and I think you would be an asset, so.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. Okay. I'm looking for a second. Trustee Bustamante Adams?
Thank you, Madam President. I would second that motion, and I agree with the comment of the wisdom that you would bring to that group.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Colleagues, we have a motion on the floor, and to be clear, I don't have public comment on this item. A motion by Trustee Bustamante Adams and a second by Trustee Guzman. Please cast your vote. The other way around. Oh, Trustee Guzman, excuse me, and a second by Trustee Bustamante Adams. Please cast your vote now. Thank you. Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. That motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much, colleagues, for your support. I look forward to representing the board on these commissions and coalition, the commission and the coalition. We're now, colleagues, going to move on to item 4.01. That's the public comment on items not listed as action items on the agenda. If If you would like to provide public comment, please do so now. Please submit your yellow card now, excuse me. Otherwise, we will begin with individuals who signed up in advance, and then we'll move on to yellow cards. And once we begin public comment, we will no longer be accepting yellow cards. Okay. Is Shauna Grasso present? Shauna, come on up, please. Please state your name into the record, and you can use this podium here. After Shauna, we'll have Doug Self and Joe Collins.
Hi, my name is Shauna Grasso. Thank you for hearing my comment today. I just wanted to speak on the possible closure of Lundy Elementary School. It's going on currently up in Mount Charleston. I just want to say when we first bought property on Mount Charleston and we decided to move there full time, two of the factors that swayed us to do so was the amazing mountain community full of unique and special people, and also the fact that my son, and now my son and my daughter back there, would be attending Lundy Elementary School when they became old enough to start kindergarten. Education of my kids is an extremely important priority for me, and so having one of Nevada's top schools close by was a huge draw when we bought that property. Public School Review ranks Lundy Elementary School in the top 20% of all Nevada schools, and it scores in the top 10% of Nevada schools in both reading and math proficiency. I've heard from multiple parents and alumni of Lundy that they graduated from Lundy ahead of their grade level in multiple subjects. So I guess my question is, why take away the opportunity from our kids to attend such a good school? Finally, I'd like to address the very real hardship that would be placed on very young kids if Lundy is closed. For kids to be bused from Kyle Canyon to Indian Springs, they'd have to endure a bus ride of an hour and a half each way. This is 3 hours of commute time every single school day. My son will be starting kindergarten in 2025, and in no world would I ever consider that it's okay for a kindergartner, a 5-year-old, to have to ride the bus for 3 hours each day just to attend school. Mountain residents who lived on the mountain and were bused to Indian Springs for middle and high school have described bullying that took place on the bus, and that negatively impacted their school experience. Kindergartners and elementary school students are very young to have to navigate complex and challenging social situations like that, and to be potentially trapped in those situations for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, seems excessive. Research considers bus rides 30 minutes to an hour as a long bus ride, with bus rides of over an hour considered a very long bus ride. Studies indicate long bus rides cause significant impact to student achievement. Students with long bus rides, let alone very long bus rides, report lower grades, poorer levels of fitness, fewer social activities, and poor study habits. Long bus rides also result in decreased attendance and chronic absenteeism. Please don't set Mount Charleston's kids up for failure. Communication with the Mount Charleston community regarding this issue has been extremely poor, so it'd be really great if we could bring a meeting to discuss these issues to Mount Charleston, rather than just holding a meeting in faraway Indian Springs. Please consider keeping Lundy Elementary School open. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shauna. And I see we have a couple of other comments around Lundy, so I'll share my remarks at the very end around those particular pieces that I know Dr. Larson, well, I don't have a lot to share actually, other than the board is apprised of concerns, and Dr. Larson Mitchell is working very closely with her team to ensure their needs, the students' needs are met. Thank you. Doug, are you present? Doug, followed by Joe, and then Christian Kiliani.
Hi, my name is Doug Self, and I'm actually a teacher for CCSD. I'm actually one of the best math teachers out there. I actually teach at Spring Mountain Youth Camp on the mountain, and I moved to the mountain this last fall. And that was a challenging time to move to the mountain because of the hurricane. We had awesome updates from all the different entities out there. We had a county representative who we would tell him, hey, we want to talk to this entity, and he would get them. Multiple times we asked about CCSD. never got a representative from CCSD. Likewise, monthly, we have a town hall meeting because we don't actually fall under the Las Vegas mayor, which we do make some recommendations on financial decisions. We've asked repeatedly for a CCSD representative, haven't gotten. I even joked at one of the meetings, since I'm a teacher, I could be the CCSD representative. So I would echo that we do need some communication on the mountain. It's not just the parents that are concerned, it's the whole community. And if you saw in the news, we had about 60 community residents at our meeting when there was only like 2 or 3 at Dr. Larson Mitchell's at Indian Springs. I would also add, at our meeting, there was, a lot of information that was shared. The lady before talked about inappropriate material with children. One of the parents there mentioned the fact that one of their elementary school children was introduced to the concept, I apologize for saying this, but it was said at our meeting, sexually fisting. 6-year-old, 7-year-old on a bus, introduced to that. Okay. Just leave it at that. And the last thing I have is I've run some pretty big hospitals before I became a teacher. If I was told that we were going to have to close down one of our hospitals because we could not afford to rebuild it, my first question would be, why was it not adequately insured? Okay. If you I talked actually to an insurance company, and they said for a business from FEMA, the max you can get is $500 on the building, $500 on the contents. That gentleman informed me that you would have to get additional commercial insurance to cover it. So it seems as though Lundy was underinsured, or else the insurance would just cover to fix it. But there's a lot of questions that the mountain residents have. We have not been able to get in touch with our representative, Katie Williams, who once again is not here, probably in Nebraska from what we read in the news. We just feel like no one's communicated with us, and we do not have a representative on the board.
Thank you. Joe Collins? Joe Collins present. Chris, come on up. Followed by Dr. Weekly.
August 23rd, school closed due to flooding. August 25th, voicemail left to parents telling them to go to Indian Springs. Parents were told, not asked, that put their kids on a 1.5-hour bus ride each way to Indian Springs rather than even considering Bilbray or Schirkenbach. Several parents were told school would open after Christmas, but no discussion, text, or parent link updates. So several homeschooled instead. You added an assessment report that you paid for that was completed on September 15th. No structural issues other than the southeast corner, which was stabilized on the 4th of September. The report doesn't mention any damage inside the facility. Was additional work done after that? You approved some funding in November, but we haven't seen anything else since. You never informed the Bond Oversight Committee or the Facilities Committee as required by NRS 393-095. You didn't go to the AZAC for rezoning, just chose Indian Springs, not the closer schools. Then on November 14th, Mr. Gowdy brought you an amendment to 7113, deleting the State Board of Ed as the other opportunity for an appeal for closing a school that had been on the books since the 80s. Then on January 18th, you projected 0 enrollment for Lundy, so you knew they were going to recommend closure prior to January 18th. Then in February, when publicizing the individual school precinct funding dollars, Lundy is no longer even mentioned as a school in Clark County School District. Where did the $913,000 go that was allocated for Lundy for 23-24 school year? That money could have been used for repairs. Parents have received no communication until their letter dated May 10th and a text to come to a meeting on the 6/7 at Indian Springs. Your lack of transparency and internal plotting to close the school violates the Family Engagement Regulation P1140, and since you knew months before that you were closing the school, you violated not only Regulation 7112, but also the NRS, which requires, your regulation requires 1A and 1B, calls for studies prior to closing a school. That was not completed. And then you violated the state law by not notifying the parents with 30 days of the time that you actually knew that they were going to close the school, which was done prior to the 18th. You also ignored parents and community requests for a meeting on the mountain and instead held it at Indian Springs. You had 5 parents from Indian Springs that showed up. We held our meeting. We had 60 people that showed up. This has been planned internally for months, and you didn't talk to any parents, you didn't talk to the community or the trustees. You simply deleted Lundy before you've even considered whether to close the school on the 27th. It's a shame. I'm ashamed of the school district for putting this forward and not supporting a historic 67-year-old school in a rural area, which also shows that you don't care for the kids in a 5-star school. I do have a handout to show you the dates of what I'm talking about with the elimination of Lundy. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Dr. Lawrence Weekly.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank my colleague and my former colleague, Commissioner June Kiliani, for her passion. I know that look that y'all have because we used to see that look when people that we know walk up to the dais. But I want to say to y'all, first of all, let me begin by thanking Dr. Brenda Larson Mitchell very much. I, along with a couple of my friends and colleagues who have some concerns about what's happening in the school district and particularly what's happening with African American students, we had an opportunity to meet with her. She sat and she listened, and we really appreciate that so very much because I'm going to tell you, Madam Chair, very nice lady. I met you when I was a commissioner, and just very nice, very pleasant. But I can share this with you. We're very concerned because we haven't seen you. And that bothers me because I agree with my friend, Trustee Irene Bustamante Adams, is you do share a lot of wisdom. You have a lot of wisdom to offer. But when you look at absenteeism, when you look at the behavior and discipline resolutions that are being discussed, when you look at the achievement and equity gaps that are going on throughout this district here, our kids are falling through the cracks, and it seems as if nothing is happening. Again, speaking with Dr. Larson Mitchell, we talked to her about a number of things that we have. We have some solutions and some ideas, and we appreciate that very much. But I want to say to this board right here, particularly you, Ms. Morales, that seat that you're sitting in, did you know, I don't know if y'all know the historical value of that seat there, or I'm going to say value, but that seat right there, the representative who used to sit there, and I've seen 4 to 5 trustees who sat in that seat. Not one time was that person ever allowed an opportunity to be the chair. You should be honored because your colleagues never, not these folks here, never allowed that seat to be represented by your district. Exactly. And so there's a lot of work to be done here. And we want to hear from you. We want to know because, again, I'll respect you. I know what it's like running for office. You see the situation that you're in from your results the other night. That's because people are saying, where is she? And we want to hear from you. And you are a sharp lady. You really are. People have called and asked me about you, and I said, I really like her, but we don't hear from you. And our kids are drowning. And Dr. Mitchell has given us a word that she's going to step her game up. I believe her. I want to give her that opportunity, the benefit of the doubt, to show us better than she can tell us. Lola, I've had an opportunity to meet with you in the past as well, and you know the commitment that I think you've shown to the district. Yeah, you've been one that have listened to some of us that have come to you and advocated on behalf of our kids. And then I feel like on your way out the door, you're not paying us any more attention. Do us a favor, and let's be about all of our kids in the Clark County School District, not just some. Thank you all very much.
All right, colleagues. That concludes public comment. And we are going to move on to item 5.01, the upcoming meeting of the Board of Trustees on June 27th, 2024 at 5 p.m. here in the boardroom. At this time, colleagues, I'm entertaining a motion to adjourn. Trustee Zamora?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 5:31.
Thank you, Trustee Zamora. Trustee Guzman?
I second.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. Colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Zamora, second by Trustee Guzman. Please cast your vote. Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. That motion passes 6-0. The time is 5:32. Have a great evening.